And good evening and good day to anyone who's up and about at this time of the day or night. Me and Miss Murder are a little bit bored, so we've concocted a little show for everybody. Take it
All
away, Miss
last
Murder.
minute. Yeah, it's all last minute. So, everyone, my fans and Farty's fans included, I do basically shows on horror, true crime, and all things that, give everyone nightmares and, make you believe that the monster's still under the bed and in the closet. Well, in the conversations on my channel, we have covered a very wide range of topics that are disturbing to say the least. And we've discussed everything from human predators, serial killers, acts of unspeakable destruction, and even devastating blunders of psychology. But unfortunately for all of us in this mortal coil, it doesn't really end there. You see, not all the horrific fates that are in the world are brought upon you by your fellow humans, though I think Farty would even agree that most of them are.
Hmm.
There's actually a lot more to fear in this world. So, Barty and I have developed this little stream to bring you the top 10 most terrifying things in the world and in existence. Might be more than 10. We'll just see. So, my normal intro, Farty, is shall we begin? You know the drill by now. Pick your poison, sit back, relax, and let us have ourselves a little conversation. Go for it, Farty. You can probably pronounce that way better than I can.
Um, One moment, let's see. Right. Oh, by the way, boys and girls, this is going to be a little bit of a learning exercise. Epidermal. Fuck's sake, this is a little bit too
I
late in the
don't
night for me
feel
to
so
start doing.
bad.
It's a little bit
I
late
don't
in the
feel
night for
so
me to
bad
do
fucking this up.
grammatical gymnastics. Um, Epidermolysis bullosa.
Just tweeting this out. Uh, oh wait, it's on Streamlabs. Hang on, I gotta delete that. So I don't know. How do people even watch it on Streamlabs?
Mm.
Anyway, I'll probably upload this to YouTube later. Uh, probably
Anyway,
do
yep,
that.
just for a quick, Jensen and
Okay,
Philip Blair in the chat. Hello there.
Jensen is in the chat. Hey, Jensen. So I guess people are figuring it out. So I guess I can tweet it out. So cool. All right, awesome. But yeah, Epidermolysa bullosa. Now, this is also called the butterfly children's disease, or cotton wool babies, or crystal skin children. Is also what it's called. Uh, it is a group of genetic conditions that are caused when the keratin genes, I'm not saying that right, the
Yeah,
KRT5 and the KRT14, that they're kind of fucked up. And what it does is it causes the skin to be very fragile and to blister very easily, as seen in the picture. Now, these blisters and skin erosions form in response to very minor injuries or friction, like rubbing or scratching. The signs and symptoms can vary quite widely among the affected individuals. Now, in mild cases, the blistering may primarily affect the hands, feet, knees, and elbows. But in more severe cases, it can be very widespread and lead to things like vision loss, disfigurement, other serious medical problems such as your throat narrowing and you not being able to swallow, skin cancer, and the need for amputations.
mm.
And mild cases may not develop until you start to walk or crawl.
Sounds very much like a white-tailed spider bite.
I know, right?
Mm.
However, luckily, unlike, spider bites in Australia, this condition is actually pretty rare. It's got an estimated 20 per million live births as being diagnosed with it, and about 9 per million people in the general population have the condition. Now, unfortunately, there are 3 types of this condition, which I cannot pronounce. whatsoever, and I'm not even going to ask you, Farty, to pronounce it because it's bullshit. It is a absolute word vomit. The life expectancy for these things are tragic to say the least. The two types tend to be rather fatal, and death occurs during infancy, while the third one, you pretty much die in your early adulthood years. Now, while there are treatments, there is absolutely no cure. Party, you ever see anything like this? You were a former medic.
Yeah, this is more medicine sort of end. The area that I used to operate in was more, incident trauma. I'm basically first monkey on site, and I'm usually operating with whatever I've got to hand. I'm usually the monkey that's, advising the ambos on what's actually going on before they get there. And if you're lucky enough to have someone like me, but in professional capacities and stuff like that, I was the medic on the fire truck when I was back in the RFS. I was a medic in the army. I've done St. John since I was 8 years old. But yeah, basically, I can patch you up and say this is going to suck, and then put something back into place, and that's about it. But I can't give you any morphine, unfortunately. But you'll definitely find that this kind of an instance is probably very well known in medicine, and you'll also probably find too that a lot of medical doctors would have one of these things on a list of top 10 things they need to diagnose before they kick the bucket or something like that. So yeah, while it is rare, it probably would be well known in the field.
Yeah. So yeah. Hey, Philip. If B isn't on the list, there's something wrong. No, this isn't people, Jensen. We're not dealing with people. That's my other channel. That's the other channel. All right. Yeah. Okay. Wait. Here. Let me. Get that. Sorry, I'm just trying to do this out for YouTube so people can actually see it. All right. Cool. She isn't people. You shush. Yes, B is. She is. She is my future waifu. Okay, so Barty, you want to take the next one?
Yeah.
Number 9?
Yeah. Let's bring up the photo.
It is nowhere near. It is not easier to pronounce, so. But I can't pronounce. I pronounce it even worse.
Naegleria fowleri. That was quite easy. Or commonly referred to as the brain-eating amoeba, is a free-living microscopic amoeba, a single-celled living organism, which can cause rare and devastating infections of the brain, causing swelling, inflammation, organ and surrounding tissue damage. The amoeba is commonly found in warm, freshwater environments, and soil. This amoeba usually affects people when contaminated water enters through the nose. Oh, this is that one.
Yeah.
This is the one, boys and girls. Yeah. When you're being evasive in a river in like South America and stuff like that, you do not piddle in the river because these things will swim back up.
No. That's a fish. That's a fish.
No. There's an amoeba that does it too.
Oh, there is. Well,
yep.
I know of a fish that does it. That if it does it with a male, basically you get your dick chopped off because it's got backwards barbs. I should have put that one on the list. Damn it! Honorable mention. I forgot about that one. Fuck, son of a bitch.
Honestly, anyway. I think in that case, I'd prefer you to split me down the middle like a hot dog bun and try and dig it out that way.
To be perfectly honest, I think there might have been a reason why I didn't put that one in, just because it makes me cringe and I don't even have a dick. It's just like, no, that's bad. It's actually a lot easier to get out of women than it is men. Figure that one out.
I've just figured out some weird convoluted erotic Venus flytrap here. You get the fish stuck up your nunny, then you stick your nunny up to some Sheila snatch, and then try to get the whole lot out. Anyway, once the amoeba enters the
You
nose, it
do
travels.
realize that those are two different holes, right?
Yeah, I know, but if you push hard enough, the spikes might go through and dig into all three. Um,
Oh, for fuck's sake, Farty.
you don't want to know the mental image I have now.
I
So
don't. I really don't. Moving on.
okie dokie. Once the amoeba enters the nose, it travels into the brain where it causes PAM, which is usually fatal. An infection typically occurs when people go swimming or dive in warm, freshwater places like lakes and rivers. In very rare instances, Naegleria infections can also occur when contaminated water from other sources, such as inadequately chlorinized swimming pools or heated and contaminated tap water that includes uh, improperly, improperly clear
Improperly
neti
cleaned
pots.
neti pots. Those are
Yeah,
the little things people like use to clean out their sinuses and shit like that.
yeah,
Yeah, you can actually
yeah.
get that. Yes, if you do not clean out your fucking neti pot, you can get this freaking brain-eating amoeba. All right,
Mm,
the amoeba itself is actually pretty common.
mm.
That's the scary
Uh,
part.
yeah. Well, you cannot get infected from swallowing water contaminated with this amoeba, though. That's because the mechanics of it work completely different. Once it hits your stomach acids, it fries just like everything else.
Oh yeah, but
uh,
also because your sinuses have like that. It's what is it? Fat soluble or blood soluble?
it's a permeable membrane.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Mm.
Uh,
Uh, even
First of
though
all,
the
what is PAM? I only have PAM for the symptoms.
say again, sorry.
PAM, PAM. It's a medical term.
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna have to look that one up.
The medic has to look the shit up. Fucking cheater.
Well, we don't really have like brain-eating amoebas out here. There's enough fucking crap that's gonna bloody kill us here. I mean,
Bullshit. Bullshit. Yes, you do. If you've got contaminated fresh water in the soil, yes, you fucking can have it. On a side note, there's another person who's wanted for murder in Chicago that just got tweeted out.
oh, hey, hang on. That's right. It'd be Tuesday there, isn't it?
Actually, it is Thursday, so he's a few days late.
Ah. Well, okay. Google's being a dick and won't tell me exactly what PAM means. It'll probably become obvious fucking later when someone mentions it. But anyway,
Yeah, probably. Moving on.
even though these amoebas are relatively common, they only rarely cause brain disease. It occurs from 0 to 8 times a year, almost always from July to September. And symptoms of PAM are not specific to this disease. At first, PAM may seem like a viral meningitis. Symptoms include headache, fever, stiff neck, loss of appetite, vomiting, altered mental state, seizures, coma, defecation, anal leakage, self detonation, radiation explosions, and no, I can't think of the last one. Oh, sorry, it was dementia. Shit, I've got it. Only kidding.
Oh, fuck off.
Everything after
Yeah,
coma was just a joke, boys and girls.
yeah.
There may
Uh,
also be hallucinations, droopy eyelid, blurred vision, and loss of sense of taste.
that sounds like COVID. The
Sounds like a
amoeba is
good Saturday
actually,
night.
or that too, but this one will actually kill you. So now, the funny thing is that the right treatment for this, as they are trying to find treatment for it, is not really clear. As there's a number of drugs that actually kill this amoeba in a test tube, but when they try it on people, it doesn't really work. In fact, it has a 97% fatality rate. Only 4 people out of 145 that are known to be infected individuals in the United States, at least. That's from the year of 1962 to 2018. Yeah, only 4 of them survived.
It's not surprising. The
No,
parasites
that's worse.
usually do have a dead man switch on them.
Well, yeah, and it's fucking. And unfortunately, if you do get infected, there's no rapid test for this infection. They're working on it, but until such test comes along, it actually takes several weeks to identify the amoeba. Unfortunately, that's normally post-mortem because death is 3 to 7 days after symptoms occur. The average being 5.3 days, or about 5 and a third of a day. So if you start getting all of those symptoms, you either A, have dementia, tetanus, and COVID all at the same time, which you're an unlucky bastard, or you have a brain-eating amoeba. Either way, you're pretty fucked. What do you think? Are you going with the trifecta, or are you going with the amoeba?
I don't know. I suppose the amoeba.
Yeah, I'd probably go with the amoeba too. It'd kill you quicker. It's like castor oil. It's the goo on the spoon that is guaranteed to kill you soon. All right, this one is actually one of my favorites. This is Karoo. I've actually mentioned this before. It's also called the laughing sickness, and I mentioned it in my cannibalism video. That I actually sent you that there, Barty. I sent you that one, I think. How much does Miss Murder actually know about cannibalism? And it turned into like a 15-ish minute video, which is, I don't know if that should be on the list by itself, that I know that much about cannibalism. Now,
I'm sure the government's got you on a list somewhere because of that.
Probably. I actually feel very sorry for the FBI or CIA or NSA agent that has to keep track of me, because I'm a very boring individual, and it goes everywhere from, ooh, pretty aesthetics. Ooh, look at the pretty picture. All of a sudden, cannibalism, sewer killer, massive suicide, cult leaders. And then it's back to the pretty pictures. It's like, I go from 0 to 60 so fast, those poor fuckers probably have whiplash, and I've probably gone through at least 2 of them because they need therapy. Moving on.
Back when I had a 4-wheel drive, I got my ASIO handlers to just follow me around the whole countryside, going up dirt tracks and everything. Love to see them follow me once I got up the boulders.
Anyway, Karoo is a very rare, incurable, and fatal neurodegenerative prion disease that was formerly very common among the 4 people of Papua New Guinea, which at its peak in about the 1950s killed up to 2% of the tribe each year. Now, I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but considering the 4 people are not that common as it is, it's actually quite a bit.
Yeah, mainly with all the tribes in around Papua New Guinea, Irian Jaya, Timor-Leste, and things like that. Your tribes, you're probably less than 100 in a lot of cases.
Yeah. I couldn't get an exact number on it, but yeah, that's about right.
They fluctuate,
very rapidly. Now, reports of this disease lasted from 1957 to 2004. So, like, about 5-6 years ago, it stopped. And there's actually a reason why this disease was so prevalent for those people, and why it was in the cannibalism video. Because it's caused by cannibalism. It's mainly spread when a human being eats another human being's brain tissue. And the reason why it was so prevalent for the 4 people is due to the fact that that was actually something that they would practice as a form of their funeral ritual. It's a form of necrocannibalism. Here's the fucked up part. Well, first of all, here are the symptoms: body tremors, random outbursts of laughter, gradual loss of coordination, You're not able to eat because it's very common for you to get a pneumonia infection during the terminal stage, and just other complications, which leads to why the picture looks so absolutely, what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, it is. Philip, it is. It's the human equivalent of mad cow disease. Emaciated. That's the word I'm looking for.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah. Now the complications, like I said, could be pneumonia, but could also be, a few other things. There's also no treatment, and there's no cure, and it is 100% fatal, with death occurring 11 to 14 months after the symptoms appear. Here's the really fucky part, and I don't know if you know this, Farty, but you know how most diseases have a pretty reasonable kind of incubation period? COVID's got like 2 weeks, shit like that, where you have like there's a reasonable amount of time. This fucker can be completely dormant in your body from anywhere between 5 to 50 years after exposure. And it normally averages about 10 to 13 years. So you could have been fed this by your mom at like 1 or 2 years old, and then all of a sudden at 13, 14 years old, you're dying of this shit. How's that for fucky?
Yeah, well, I'm just thinking about the mechanics of it and all this kind of stuff. There are a lot of things that people still don't understand about how the human body works and whatnot. Just wondering, because of its incubation period, there's certain cancers in your body that you are born with. Everyone's got them. It's just something that we all have and always have had. It's just that there are circumstances that come along in your life that can trigger it, whether it be like chemical imbalance or trauma or some other outside element, but it can actually turn on the cancer gene. I'm just wondering if it could very well be something that's inherent in Homo sapiens. That
it actually is. It actually is. It is. It's very much. Every human being has it in their body, but it really only activates after you die, and then it comes into contact with the human digestive system, as far as I can understand it, at least.
Yeah.
I could be totally wrong.
Something along those lines. Something along those lines, but that's how it sort of sounds like it.
Yeah. Also, just something I find really interesting is the fact that the human brain isn't the only thing that you should never eat on a human being. I mean, granted, aside from extreme, and I do mean extreme situations, cannibalism is actually pretty rare. But there's also, recorded cases of it happening in like February of last year. And I'm not joking about that.
And for anyone who's thinking of going into something like, I don't know, searching for the South Pole or climbing K2 or something in a situation
because you're a vegan.
Or go on an aeroplane flight while you're a member of the Argentine football team or something like that, flying over the Alps.
I was about to say that.
Now, if you get yourself into a situation, boys and girls, use some decorum and have some forethought about what's going to happen when you all get found. Now, when you're preparing some of your fallen friends for some hearty meals, do be sure to take the meat off the bone without any mechanical means, and don't eat it like a chicken wing, because we can tell when it's been processed via a knife or whether there's bite marks in the bones, and yes, we think you're fucking weird afterwards for doing it. Doesn't matter whether it's survival or not, it's just like, you ate person. Ugh.
I mean, no one will fuck with you. I mean, life can't get much worse than that. You were forced to eat somebody else. I mean...
Well, yeah, no one will fuck with you, but when all the Sheilas find out, no one will fuck you either.
You know what, Farty? You know what, Farty? You could be wrong about that.
I think
You
we should
could be
move on.
wrong about. Dude, they're putting bugs up their genitalia right now. Okay, okay. Furries are becoming legitimately vanilla at this point. Okay. No, there's things called bug chasers
Oh, I've heard
in
of
the United
those.
States. Yeah. If you don't know what a bug chaser is, basically it's you actively seek out people who have a sexually transmitted disease and then you want to get that disease and that's your fetish.
Yeah, we used to call it pokey-mole out here. You're going to poke the mole. She's going to go and collect them all.
Uh, what was someone lost at sea if everywhere this clear? No, actually, that form of cannibalism was recorded. I believe it was with a serial killer. Not a serial killer, is a female murderer, and she actually killed her boyfriend, skinned him, chopped him up, and fed him to his kids. Not regretting, not getting married, are you, Ferdy?
Probably not.
Bitches be crazy. Yes.
You
Yes,
never
yes,
know.
yes.
Some Sheila with a deranged mental health condition might fucking seem me attractive somewhere along the line. You never know.
I mean, that'd be a hell of a way to go. You definitely get on my channel, man. But anyway, moving on. But there's a few more things that are that you don't need in a human. You don't need the skin, and you don't need the bone marrow for very similar reasons. So no brains, no skin, no marrow. I'm sorry, you cannot fry up a person like fried chicken. Though they do smell like chicken. I know. Such injustice.
And I had a really good crispy chicken recipe too. Crispy, yeah, fuck that joke up.
It's long pork or the other white meat.
This used to be pork. No, it wasn't a pig. It used to be a policeman.
Oh God, the jokes. Okay, moving on. Your turn, number 7.
Okie dokie. Radio. Locked-in syndrome. I'd hazard to guess that this one's more of a fairly scary prospect, and rather more depressing than what people would imagine. Before you actually get into it, to think about this kind of thing, but actually once you're in it, I think you'd probably resolve yourself to your situation rather quickly, and you don't really have a choice in the matter.
Awkward Valentine's Day. Yeah, very. Yeah, just well, I'd agree with you there, and I actually kind of get into it later on, but go ahead.
Well, locked-in syndrome is a rare neurological disorder in which there is complete paralysis of the voluntary muscles, except for those that control like all your respiratory functions. So basically,
No,
all
even
your body.
Your eye movements, all but your eye movements.
Well, yeah, basically, everything's working on the inside. Nothing's working on the outside. You can't talk. You can't acknowledge. Like people think that you're either incoherent or you're not even lucid. In actual fact, you can hear absolutely fucking everything. And this is, I'll get onto that a little bit later of why it'd be like a really depressing, really sort of not so horrifying situation, but more traumatic than anything else once you think about it.
I'd consider it a living hell, honestly.
Individuals with locked-in syndrome are conscious and awake, but have no ability to produce movements outside of eye movements or to speak. Cognitive function is usually unaffected, so you can understand everything, right? So when your wife walks in the room and has that open discussion, thinking you can't hear her of, geez, should we pull the plug? Geez, how long's this going to go for? And then, after a while, there will be that lamenting of like, it would have been better off for him if we'd done this ages ago kind of thing. To hear your family actively talking about fucking just giving up on you like that, and you can't even argue with them. Yeah,
Well,
communication.
I guess at a certain point, you'd be like, pull the fucking plug already, motherfucker.
Well, that's the thing. See, most people can't communicate, and they can't sort of.
Well, no, I understand that. I'm just saying, at a certain point.
Even with the eye blinking, you could blink your eyes frantically, and still you need the person on the other end to have the cognitive ability to go, oh, that's Morse code.
Oh, yeah, I was about to say, that is some serious Morse code, Start, all I know is blinking SOS. So I can blink that I'm in trouble, but that's about it.
It absolutely can be done. And in fact, a good example of someone using blinking as a communication method was, can't remember exactly which conflict it was, but there was a pilot that did get shot down, and they did the whole, talking to the camera, say death to America, America scumbags, and all this kind of stuff. And he did that, but while he was doing it, he was blinking a message. And
nice.
It took a little bit, but someone sort of watched the video and go, huh, that looks like he's saying something while he's blinking. That's an L. Yeah, that's an I. That's a. Holy fuck, he is saying something.
Holy fuck, he's using Morse code. What did he give his location?
I can't remember exactly what the information he gave, but I think from memory it was just some general information about how he's been treated and all this kind of stuff. It gives the information on how urgent the situation was and whether they really did need to make an effort to fucking get him out or whether he could sit back for a bit and was like, yeah, no, the war's over for me, mate. I think it was just a bit of a bit of welfare. Look, no, I'm okay, guys. This is all right for the moment. I think that was the message, but I'm probably wrong.
Yeah, maybe.
Because, well, anyone with half a brain, when you take a prisoner, especially in a war situation, and you're taking him into an area where, it's a detention camp or something like that, you must be aware that the person you are in custody of is looking around and seeing what the terrain's like, what, is there villages, is there fields, is there forests, what's the outside of this place look like, what's its defenses, where are their blind spots and all this kind of stuff. So you typically be blindfolded and stuff until you get to the location. And once you're inside, you've got no sensory perception of where you are. Iraq, you'd be, I'm in a mud hut in a desert. Okay, yeah, which one?
Yeah, which one? That's right. But
so logic would kind of dictate. Yeah, logic would kind of dictate. He probably wouldn't have known where he was to have given that information anyway. Okay, so locked-in syndrome is caused by damage to the pons part of the brainstem, which contains nerve fibers that relay information to other areas of the brain. One could imagine becoming suddenly paralyzed for no apparent reason. It can be quite terrifying for individuals with locked-in syndrome. Classically, the individuals with locked-in syndrome classically cannot consciously or voluntarily chew, swallow, breathe, speak, or produce any movements other than those involving their eyes or eyelids. Some affected individuals can move their eyes up and down vertically, but not side to side horizontally. Affected individuals are bedridden and completely reliant on caregivers. Locked-in syndrome affects males and females in equal numbers.
Go ahead.
Locked-in syndrome can affect individuals of all ages, including children, but most often seen in adults who are more at risk of stroke or bleeding because cases of locked-in syndrome may go undiagnosed or misdiagnosed. It's difficult to determine the actual number of individuals who've had the disorder in the general population normally. A disease or a syndrome with a higher or long-term survival rate would be comforting, given the nature given the nature and the syndrome of this disorder. The 80% chance of 10-year survival seems more of an unimaginable living hell rather than one of hope. Especially, like I said, when you've got your friends and family who you will catch them in that conversation, and yet there's no definite end to it. You know, you might come out of it, you might not, you're probably not. And then you're sitting there going, well, what am I doing? I'm just sitting here looking at the ceiling. Why can't they just knock off me? But you can't tell anybody that.
No, which is very incredibly scary.
So
There's like an
that is
echo
one.
going on in the background for you, I think.
Eh?
I'm hearing like this weird background. I think it might be you, but it might be me.
It's not me. It's dead to the world here. Every bastard's asleep.
Might be me then.
Anyway, right here.
Yeah, I'm just packing up some stuff, so keep talking.
Okay, so yeah, well, it's bloody. It's one of those kinds of things that you kind of should think about in your life and have a bit of a discussion with a few people that hopefully will still be around if indeed that does show up. It's the whole, would you rather spend the rest of your life after a car accident as a veggie, or would you want to be turned off? Do not resuscitate.
I think, you know what? We have the opportunity right here, right now, Farty. We have witnesses here recorded on the internet. If I am ever a vegetable for any apparent reason, and there is less than a, double-digit % chance that I will pull out of this with all my faculties to me, please put me out of my misery, for fuck's sake. Do not let me be, what was that one woman's name? Shrivo or something like that? Let me see. Terry Shrivo, that was her name.
All right.
That was the woman who it was the Right to Die movement. Yeah. That was where, Rush Limbaugh basically was all up in arms. Basically what happened is it kept basically a family squabble, and this was severely brain damaged Florida woman, and she had been kept alive by feeding tube after collapsing in 1990. She didn't pass away or be allowed to pass away until 2005. Holy shit. And she was severely brain damaged. She was, Terry Shrivo. Basically, she went into full cardiac arrest. Her brain was deprived of oxygen. She was in a complete vegetative state. She couldn't really breathe on her own. She couldn't eat on her own. Nothing. She was being kept. She was the most expensive plant that you could imagine, and that is saying something. And I know I'm making a joke of a very horrible situation, and I'm sorry, but I think that's the only appropriate thing for this. But yeah.
It would be my luck if I ended up in a situation like this, that the law would have passed for euthanasia and all this kind of stuff, and people would have the bona fide illegal argument to put me down, but then they'd pick me out of the bloody crowd and go, right, no, we're going to make this guy the test subject for the extended life program. Then they'd have me in perpetual fucking survival for like a millennia or something like that, just because I'd be the one that wants to go. And then they find a cure in 3032, and it's like the first thing I say is, "You're a bunch of cunts." It's like, what was wrong? I wanted to die 1,000 years ago. You fucking assholes! Well, why didn't you say anything? Oh, I'm getting out of this bed and I'm going to hit you, bastard.
That sounds like a movie, and I need to see it.
That absolutely would be something that they'd say, like, get out of locked in syndrome, or a coma or something
Movie.
like that.
Oh my
And
God,
they'd be
the
like,
movie
why
that's
didn't you
going
say
on now.
something? They'd be definitely like, why didn't you say something? It's like,
As
fuck,
soon as I
do
get
I have
out of
to
this
tell you what a fucking coma is, cunt?
But no, there's this movie that's supposedly coming out. I forget who's in it, but it's a dude who, like, when Ellis Island was still in effect in America, and this dude like fell into like this vat of pickle brine, and it preserved him for like 100 years, and that kind of shit. Oh my God, that sounds like it's one of those movies that can either be really good or really bad, and there's no in between. But moving on, we're getting off topic. This one is called FFI, or Fatal Familia Insomnia. No, that's Alien Hand.
Oops, hang on. Fuck.
I probably sent it to you in the wrong order.
Hang on.
The one above it. One above it.
One above it. Oh, yeah, the dude grabbed his head.
Very good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There wasn't really any good picture, so that's the one we're getting. Okay, so FFI is an inherited prion disease. There's a lot of prions on this list. That it mainly affects the part of the brain that controls the sleep and awake cycle. It's also known as the relay center of the brain. And what it does is it helps the brain communicate with all the other parts of the brain. Now, like most prion disease, or actually all prion diseases, this is again a progressive neurodegenerate disease, which means over time there are fewer and fewer neurons or nerve cells. Now, a loss of neurons in this particular part of the brain, as well as other mechanisms, is actually not fully understood, or why it causes the symptoms of FFI. Now, what FFI is it's basically insomnia on crack and on steroids and on PCP all at the same time. The first symptoms is it usually begins about midlife, and it usually includes progressive insomnia, weight loss, lack of appetite, too high or too low body temperature, hallucinations, and rapidly progressive dementia. Because sleep deprivation will actually kill you and drive you crazy.
No shit.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, there's a reason it's used as a torture method. Let me see something.
Yes, there's a reason why I'm about 9,000 screws loose of a girder bridge.
Okay. The longest time. Fuck you, Party. I'm trying to do a horror thing over here, and you're cracking jokes and being a jackass. Oh, God. Okay.
Dark humor.
The longest recorded time without sleep was 264 hours, which is just over 11 consecutive days. Although it's not, no one is really sure how long humans can survive without sleep, but it's not long before the effects of it start to, really slow. Because after only 3 or 4 nights without sleep, you can actually start to hallucinate.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely, you can.
Oh, and it gets better with this one. First of all, almost all cases of the FFI prion are caused by certain changes or mutations in the PRNP gene, and it's inherited. So, yeah, it's biology is fucking you again. Although there are a very small numbers of reported sporadic cases.
Oh, well, I was going to just say, well, that can't be me because my parents and my brother aren't insomniacs, yet I am. But then you said there's sporadic, you can happen sporadically, so well, there's that up.
Shit. Barty, this might be it for you. I'm sorry, man. You don't get to Thanos snap the world. I'm so sorry. Now, there has been research for treatment, and cure is ongoing. But right now, there's really no treatment that's exactly effective. and death usually occurs within 12 to 18 months of the first symptoms. Now, like I said, I'm going to overly simplify this by explaining what this disease does. And if you'll excuse the morbid humor, let's just say that with this diagnosis, the phrase, "I'll sleep when I'm dead," is something you can take quite literally.
Well, actually, in this case, coming from experience, you get to a point where you're actually too afraid to sleep because you might die, might not wake up.
See, that's actually a thing with sleep paralysis, and I had that on the list before, but yeah, that actually happens with sudden sleep paralysis too.
Yeah, I've been a few times at a point where I've even gone to the hospital and I said, listen, I haven't had sleep in so long. I can't remember when the last time I actually had sleep was. I am having chest pains and palpitations and shit, and every time I go to lose consciousness, my chest acts funny. Can you just give me something to go to sleep and then just have someone watch me and make sure I don't stop breathing? No, we don't do that.
No, that's when you call over your best friend and they hit you in the head with a baseball bat.
Yeah, that would be the Serbian war criminal, and it probably wouldn't end well.
Oh, that'd be
Because the other alternative, he's already in jail.
Yeah, well, shit. Someone call up the Serbian war criminal. All right, next one. This one I actually really like, and Farty, I think you'll like the name of this one. It's called Alien Hand Syndrome, or the Anarch Hand, or Dr. Strangeglove Syndrome.
Oh,
It sounds
idle
like a
hand
Kiss
syndrome,
song, doesn't it?
Yeah, there's idle hand syndrome as well. The devil's hands.
Yep. It's all connected. I like the Dr. Strangeglove one. It sounds like, it reminds me of the Kiss song.
Dr. Strangeglove.
No,
Actually, it's
Dr. Love.
no. No, you've just given me an idea. Dr. Strange glove, right? You get a medical glove and you put little tassels on the end and stuff like that. It's like a little sex aid kind of thing. And it's like Dr. Strange Love. It's a condom with your hand with a little tickler on the end. Thanks, I'm going to be a millionaire now.
What the fuck, man?
Put these on your alien hands. Yeah, put these on your alien hands. Introducing the ET model.
God damn it.
ET dick finger. Okay, radio.
Off. Although I will say the ET's finger did look like a dildo. And actually, I'm 90% sure it is. You know the rules of the internet. If it exists, there's porn of it.
Yeah, and when it glows, when it glows, that's the
Nightmare on Elm Street. That actually has a porn.
Yeah, you know the thing, the creepiest part about ET is that what you don't realise is that when his finger glows, that's him ejaculating, and then he rubs it on what the kid's name's face. Wipe.
Really? That's where you went? Okay, moving on. So
Will you never see ET in the same light again?
Fuck you, Farty. Okay, moving on. Okay, so this is a category of conditions in which a person experiences their limbs moving seemingly on their own. They have no control over it. It just does whatever it wants. The good news is that it's rare. And it was first identified in 1909, and there have only been 40 to 50 recorded cases ever since. But with this syndrome, and it's actually in the DSM-5, which is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. Now, you can't control the hand. It's as if it has its own mind, and the affected, it feels like it's foreign. And during its episodes, it seems to move deliberately to carry out tasks that are unintentional. It can affect children, but it normally occurs in adults. The most prominent symptom of alien hand syndrome is literally the ability or the inability to control the hand that it affects, and it acts independently. It can be goal-orientated, or it can, just kind of randomly levitate or do shit like that. And people who actually have this syndrome say, oh, well, yeah, I own the hand, but it's really not mine. It's like they're borrowing it or some shit. And that's actually pretty common. They don't deny the ownership, but they don't say that it belongs to them, which is actually quite common in such disorders. Sometimes it's not even the hand. Sometimes it's the leg, but that's pretty rare. It can also engage in self-oppositional actions, like closing the drawer that your other hand just opened, or unbuttoning the shirt that you just buttoned. It is uncooperative and may perform incorrect actions or fail to follow commands. Basically, it is like the bratty child in limb form. There is some treatments for it, but again, no cure. And also, I think that's the kind of thing that would, you'd kind of get used to it after a while. It's probably one of the tamer ones on this list, I think.
All except for if you're a creepy looking dude and you just happen to, started grabbing women inappropriately. I don't think your freedom would last too long, and I'm pretty sure the courts would see this as a rather bullshit excuse.
Probably.
Well, they did when I used it anyway.
By the way, Farty, did you call your parole officer this week?
Don't have to. He's been buried. I mean, he's on holidays.
Oh, God. We're taking over Dodger's channel with this bullshit. He's probably going to be pretty pissed when he wakes up. Okay, moving on. Sudden adult death syndrome, also called SADS. Basically, it's SIDS, but for adults. You want to take it from there, Farty?
Bear with me one sec. You caught me off guard.
Good.
Blink and share that and do that one and that. Right. Alrighty, sudden adult death syndrome, or SADS, not to be confused with sudden infant death syndrome, or SIDS, which is a real thing that I just noticed you actually referred to in the next line. It's sudden unexpected death of adolescents and adults, mainly during sleep. In this aspect, it is much like SIDS, or sudden infant death syndrome, which is pretty much the same thing. Basically, all accounts basically go to this: mother or father puts baby to bed, everything's all perfectly fine. Wake up in the morning, baby died in the sleep. It's usually they figure with SIDS, it's usually the position of the baby that you lay it in. I think it's, from memory, it was a counterintuitive one, like lying it on its belly was the one you're supposed to do, but don't quote me on that.
I think you're supposed to actually lay them on their back. I'm not entirely sure either.
That's why I say don't quote me on it, because I'm sure it was the counterintuitive one.
No. I don't have kids, so I don't know either.
No, well, logic would dictate. You go to clear someone's airway and all that kind of stuff. If they're on their back and you tilt their head back, open the airways, all that kind of thing promotes airflow and stuff like that. But putting someone on their belly and all this kind of stuff, where the diaphragm's got to work against the whole body weight, and then you've got respiratory crush and all that kind of stuff. You wouldn't think that would be the one that'll work, but. Yeah. But like I said, I've got to stop saying that, because I'm actually sort of trying to make out that that's the one that is the one that's working, and I'm not sure. Okay. Luckily, sudden unexpected death syndrome is rare in most areas around the world. This syndrome occurs in populations that are culturally and genetically distinct, and the people who leave the population carry with them a vulnerability to die suddenly during their sleep. Sudden unexplained death syndrome was first noted in 1977 among Southeast Asian refugees in the United States. Guess where they came from, boys and girls? Little place starting with V.
Hang on a second. There we go. You still got me?
You're cutting out pretty bad.
CQ, CQ, CQ.
It's a little better. The disease was again noted in Singapore. Then a retrospective survey of records that showed 230 otherwise healthy Thai foreign workers residing in Singapore died suddenly of unexplained causes between 1982 and 1990. Unfortunately, diagnosis of these events are only found post-mortem. Because you'll find that there are zero signs and symptoms, and even if they were, we probably haven't cut up that part of the body to figure out what to look for yet. And you'll probably find with like aneurysms and things like that, it's very, very rare that you just happen to be looking at the right place at the right time with the right imagery equipment to detect something that you could probably figure out if you had enough time. So, yeah, this is one of those things. That's why it's called sudden. It's the very definition of it. And I think we have lost Miss Murder, which is really interesting. This would be the second stream that I've done like this, that someone's died in the back. All right. Oh, good. Here she is. Right, there we are.
Yeah, sorry about the outside noise too. But luckily, we're almost done, which is good because my phone is starting to die.
And the next one's the one you wanted me to do anyway, Invisible Fire.
Yes, invisible fire. Yes, fire can be invisible, people. Holy shit.
Fire can do a great many strange and wonderful things, especially when you know what to do with it and how to do with it and all this. Okay.
Yep. Barty, the volunteer fireman, take it away.
Alrighty.
You do your thing.
Invisible fires, otherwise known as ethanol fires, are really dangerous. So ethanol does burn a very, very pale blue flame. Unfortunately, in most light, this blue flame is almost invisible, and it's also smokeless. This type of fire can start in a few ways. Ethanol that you would find in alcohol, methanol, and wood alcohol, butane, which is a natural gas, or even propane, without the added sulfur. And the sulfur is basically there to just make it smell so that if there is a leak, you can detect it. And that introduces an impurity to the gas, which is the reason why propane or butane with the sulfur in it will actually create a yellow flame. It's a bit of a safety feature. These kinds of fires are near invisible to the naked eye, and if you cannot see it, you could very easily find yourself.
You'll feel it in about a minute.
Yeah, enveloped in fire before you realise it. The best way of extinguishing these fires is to stop the gas instead of fighting the flame. Cooling the source of the fire is the safest way to do so to stop the blaze. Smothering, just removing the air. It's the best way of doing it. And if you have enough water, flood everything just to be safe. It's a major issue, ethanol fires and stuff like that. But unfortunately, ethanol is such a really, really good source of energy. Can't not use it. It's used in things like aviation fuel for helicopters and stuff like that. And there was an instance where I think the 2001 fires. It was up in Warringah Pittwater Headquarters Brigade, and just behind the station there's a football field. No bleachers or anything, it's just open field. And well, we decided to use that as a helipad, and we were hot fueling helicopters up there. And we had to have a tanker up there and a guy on a safety line whilst the dude fueled up the helicopter, and brought over a 44-gallon drum with a little hand pump. And so yeah, there was the one time that I was on the safety line. The chopper pilot had because it's hot, it's exhausting and all that kind of stuff, actually flying a helicopter and all this shit, so you're not really all there at the best times. And he's fueled up and he's walked away from the helicopter with the barrel, but didn't put the fuel cap back on the actual helicopter. And I had to stop, fucking, right, you go back, gave him a little gesture, like turn the cap sort of thing. He's looked over at me, huh? Oh, right, oh shit, and he's moseyed on back to the helicopter, better do that up. Yeah, so things like that is where you can get hot fuels. Invisible flame fires. I was doing things like hot fueling. In the image there that you can see, you can actually see there's a racing car. This is taken from a piece of footage where they've actually spilled fuel on the hot engine, and as a result of that, it's hit the flash point of the ethanol, and it's basically bursting the flames. You cannot see the flame in the footage, yet everybody's very well aware of who's on fire, and you can actually see someone being chased by somebody else with a CO2 fire extinguisher trying to spray him down. So, yeah. So that's basically the ins and outs of invisible fire. Anything you'd like to add there, Nick Smetter? I think that was pretty definitive. Okay, so bear with me, boys and girls, while I change a few things around. Fuck, what was I going to do there? Speak amongst yourselves, boys and girls. Can conjure up a couple of jokes. Entertain yourselves for the moment while I make a massive hash out of this. Oh, for crying out bloody loud. Okay, share screen. Here we go. That one there. Okay, the Bolton Strid. Okay, the Bolton Strid. All right, hang on. Alrighty, have we got ya?
Yeah, maybe.
Alrighty. Would you like to take the Bolton
There
Strid?
we go. Sorry. I kind of can't. I'm in the car, and anytime I try to get out of this thing, basically it kicks me out of the chat. So, kind of on your own. Yeah, Farty.
Oh, okie dokie.
I'm sorry, bro. Sorry, bro. Funny story about this one. I actually wanted to get Yorkie or, some fucking Brit to actually, talk about this, thinking, hey, they're from, similar to this area or some shit like that. And out of the 3 or 4 Brits I fucking asked about this, none of them fucking knew what I was talking about. So yeah, now an American and a fucking Aussie are gonna tell a bunch of Brits about, what the fucking Bolton Strid is.
Oh, well, this is a bit par for the course, don't you think? I mean, like with a World War One stream, we not a pom on that one either. Here we are as an Aussie and a bunch of Yanks trying to bumble our way through European history.
Oh, fucking hell. Yeah, that's typical. That's pretty standard. Fuck it.
You should have.
The fucking ungrateful colonists and the traitors and prisoners have joined forces.
You should have asked Jensen. But then again, he probably wouldn't be able to talk about it because I'm pretty sure he'd be the guy that was behind throwing all the LSD around that made all the kids see the fairies in the first place. He's not going to admit to it. He doesn't want to get in trouble.
Well, he is a part of a cannibal. He did invite me into the cannibalistic cult, so pretty proud of that.
Okie dokie. Right. Well, the Bolton Strid is a picturesque stretch of river that looks like a type of place one might find fairies frolicking around in Yorkshire, England. But just beneath the surface is this is that one. Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It's but beneath the surface is an actual booby trap that has claimed a number of lives. Around the area of Strid, the river wharf runs between 2 banks of mossy boulders, looking more like a stream or a creek than a rushing river. But travel just upstream from the spot, and you will see that the waterway expands into a proper river, some 30 feet across, with frothing currents and waves.
Okay, what would that be in metric? Because I couldn't. I had to put that in American.
Shit. Okay, so 40 feet's 12 meters. It's about 9 meters or something like that.
Yeah. So, wider than a street about?
Oh, the long trailer on a semi-trailer. It's about 40 feet.
Yeah. There, we have made it into Universal.
Yeah, a trailer length.
We have two brain cells between us.
Well, actually, universally, a shipping container is the most universal thing. Every single country uses shipping containers, and it's 20 feet or 40 feet. There's your two options.
So, about 10 feet short of 2 shipping containers.
Yep. Or 220 footers, or it's 10 feet shorter than a full 40 footer.
Yep.
The reason the Strid is so thin is not because they've ended up running off course of the river, but it's because the waters simply change orientation. Instead of flowing in a horizontal or wide horizontal course, the waters begin to flow vertically and in the tight shaft created by the natural rock.
Tight shaft.
That's what she said just then, literally.
We are such fucking children.
Well, hey, whoever said anything about I'm responsible? No one said I'm an adult.
Wait, no one said you were responsible. What the fuck?
No, I'm obliged to be responsible. No one said anything about being an adult.
Just because you have to grow old doesn't mean you have to grow up. And I don't think.
Am I responsible for it? Yep. Did I give a fuck what happened to it? Nope.
What is it? Old enough to know better, young enough to do it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, basically what that means is that it's not very wide, but it's insanely deep. And if you've ever put your thumb over the end of a garden hose, you know how much more pressure you get at the end of the garden hose? That's basically what's happening with this river.
Mm-hmm. Okay, the change in orientation.
Keep going.
This change in orientation has created a deceptively deep and powerful current, even carving out some area beneath the shore rocks to create a void where debris and people in the water can be trapped. Indeed, while there do not seem to be any hard numbers about exactly how many people have perished in the Strid, the local legend is that no one who has dared to enter the waters has ever made it out alive. The caves and naturally carved traps laying just under the surface of the river the caves and just under the surface of the river.
Am I testing your vocabulary here, Farty, with my script?
Yeah, pretty much.
Wait, the American is smarter. Yes.
No. We're having to translate it from redneck to the Queen's
fuck
English.
Off. Fuck off. You are not speaking the King's English. You fuckers got kicked out by the King. Fuck you.
No, you've got to put the right inflection on it too. It's the Queen's English. Thank you very much.
Fuck you, Farty. Fuck you, Farty. Y'all are just Americans on the other side of the globe.
Yeah, well, Robin Williams said it best that Australia is England's rednecks.
Yeah, I fully agree with that.
No kidding. SJWs tried to get him into shit for that, and we just laughed at them and said, piss off, it was funny. Yes, I actually remember where I was when I was listening to the story about Robin Williams getting into trouble with that. And I know for a fact that there was about 15 people in the same line of traffic that was listening to the same fucking thing because all of us were just fucking killing ourselves laughing.
Oh my God. That's really fucked up. When SJWs try to fucking say, oh no, that's offensive, but the people that they was being talking about fucking agree.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically with the Strid is that Yeah, okay. First of all, it's still a very popular walking path. It's kind of like Lakeshore Drive's walking path, especially in the middle of a storm. And if you don't know where that is in Chicago. That is my stomping grounds. And Farty, if you don't know about Lake Michigan is basically the lake that thinks it's an ocean. We actually have, and I think I also covered this in like Haunted Bodies of Water. There's actually something called the Michigan Triangle, and it is literally a Bermuda Triangle type thing in the middle of Lake Michigan. And
Yes.
here's the really fucked up part, what a lot of people don't realize is that Lake Michigan is a lot deeper than you'd think. I think some of its deepest depths are like over 400, close to 500 feet deep. Like you could actually practice scuba diving in our lake.
Mhm.
And the other thing is that this lake is so cold that bodies don't float, they sink straight down and are perfectly preserved. But we can't get the bodies out. We literally can't. Because we don't have the money to rent that kind of equipment. So the Boston Strid and Lake Michigan are incredibly similar in the way that basically it needs a sacrifice every so often. And stupid people get sacrificed to it. It's a self-sacrifice. We appreciate their their contribution. But yeah, sending the fucking helicopters out after them is getting a bit expensive. Oh no, like at least 2 or 3 people every single fucking year. If there's a bad storm over Lake Michigan, you can guarantee there's at least 1 to 3 people that are dying in that fucking lake. Because some dumbass has to go walking on the Lakeshore Parkway or walkway, which is right up to the lake and right up the break walls, which we've actually had to put cops out there to keep people from fucking going in. And they still fucking do it.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh.
like we literally have to keep fucking EMTs right fucking there.
Yeah, there's a similar story down south of Sydney. There's a place called Kiama. There's a naturally formed blowhole there. And blowhole basically uses an eroded piece of rock that basically makes a column that comes up, and there's a hole in the top. And when the waves basically hit this rock, it shoots basically up this tube and squirts this giant squirt out the top of it. It's pretty spectacular. It's like a cold version of Old Faithful. But yep, people.
I was about to say, is that Australia's dick?
Hey.
Is that that sounds incredibly phallic? Is that Australia's dick? Thus proving that Australia is male?
No. Australia's dick is Jim Jeffries. He's just a dick.
You showed me a picture of him, and that is fuck. That is accurate. I've only seen the dude. I don't know anything about him, and all I can think is, wow, that is a very apt description.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot what I was going to say there.
Oh, fuck no.
What's the same before that?
I don't know. Something about oh fucking hell.
Oh, that story was going somewhere.
Something about yeah. Something about
the blowhole, the blowhole
thing in Australia.
Yeah, right. Now we have fucking put fences and shit around it, which didn't stop a bunch of surfies from trying to surf at the entrance to the blowhole down in the water, and a couple of them died. And we gave their mother and father a Darwin Award.
Is this like a thing that's sticking out of the ground, or is this underwater?
No, it's a cliff face, right? So, like, It's this cliff face that goes down to the ocean, and the ocean's basically eroded this little channel into the side of the cliff face, and then it comes back up. And basically, at the top of this cliff, it's like a flat piece of rock. In the middle is a bloody hole in it. And then when the water, it just shoots straight out the hole. Right? So.
So it's like an underwater version of Old Faithful.
Yeah, pretty much, and it works on just wave motion instead of like thermodynamics. But anyway, so we've had to put fences there because the Japanese tourists were standing right over the top of the damn thing, getting washed away. But there was one time it took Susan there because her daughter Amy had never seen this thing before, and we'd gone up, had a look. She got wet. Everyone had fun. Then we were walking back to the cars, and it was funny because there was a carload of Lebanese guys driving out. And I was making this like little joke about it. It's like this little stereotypical, but anyway, it's like you just imagine these guys. They're so fucking disappointed. They've come all this way down to Kiama. Oh man, I tell you, down in Kiama, there's this woman, right? She is so loose. They call her the blowhole, mate. I tell you, oh mate, she's so easy. We get all the boys. We get in the car. We go down there. We get us some, mate. And then they get down there, and it's like it's a fucking hole in the ground. Oh man, so ripped off. I want my money back. Where's this bitch, mate? Oh, I've got to get myself laid. I thought the blowhole was a woman.
Farty, you are a racist bastard, but I think that's why we love you.
I'm not racist. I'm Australian. That's my excuse.
Wait, why can't I use that fucking excuse? I'm not racist. I'm American. Oh, wait, that's right.
Because Australia is a multicultural society. We are not Australians anymore. We are multicultural.
We're known as a melting pot.
Yep, we are of all cultures now.
Pot. What the fuck?
Yep, so me as a white
Americans
Australian, I am no longer.
What the fuck is this bullshit?
Yeah, I'm no longer a white Australian because we don't exist. We're not allowed to have a nationality or anything like this, so we've got to be multicultural, which does give me the benefit of saying, well, that makes me black and Asian and gay and straight and an alien and a worm and an amoeba, a Zentradi battle cruiser and a piece of water, all at the same time. So by that definition, I cannot be racist because I'm of all races, aren't I? That really ticks off the racist people.
You can't be sexist either.
Yeah, no, it really pisses off the people who want to scream racism because I've just shat all over their entire argument and now they're the racist ones.
You didn't just shat all over it. You sharted. You sharted all over that shit.
Yeah, and then I called an airstrike. And then I called in an airstrike just to finish it off.
Wait, wouldn't that already be an airstrike?
Hey.
Wouldn't sharding already be an airstrike?
Well, depending on my elevation to them, you could probably determine it as more an artillery barrage.
Oh, God. How do we get into these conversations?
You started talking to me.
First mistake. Jens is going to be laughing his ass off when he comes back and watches this shit. Oh, my God.
Right.
But anyway, the next one is yours. This is a bona fide, and of course Australia had to have the #1 spot because fucking Australia. And
Australia is a continent that's not to be fucked with.
Oh no, I did a BitChute video on this a while ago, and it said, "Welcome to Australia. Don't ask any questions and try not to die." And it was an Australian who told me to fucking put that there.
Yep.
Like, they have snakes coming out of light fixtures, fucking spiders that'll bite you in the ass, the toilet.
We got guys getting off speeding fines because there was, in fact, a fucking snake in their car.
Oh my God, that was a fucking funny thing. You can link that article when this is all said and done.
So, okay, so that's the animals, and then we got the backpacker murderers and the granny killers and all that other stuff. So there's your humans and shit. So what about the plants? Well, yep, we've got you covered there. The gimpy trees are real sadistic.
I'll be right back.
All right. It's a real sadistic piece of fucking God's little bloody hate fetish for humans and stuff like that. It's a very, very unassuming tree and has a fair few very painful and hilarious stories that are associated with it. The Gympie tree, also known as the stinging bush, the mulberry-leaved stinger, the Gympie gympie, the suicide plant, which will become apparent later. The moonlighter is a plant common to rainforest areas in northeast Australia, basically in Queensland, or that's more far north Queensland than anything else.
Which I was about to say, isn't that right around your stomping grounds there, man?
It's a couple of 100 k's a little bit north of me, but yeah, same side of the country. But yeah, I honestly would.
Same side, different orientation. Talking about a sexual orientation for the plant.
Well, so you got Queenslanders who are so slow their thongs don't even slap. We'll have to Americanise that one. They're so slow their flip flops don't even slap. You got New South Wales, which is a good state below that. So we usually call the Queenslanders Canadians because, well, they're north of the border. And then you got Melbourne, who can't be trusted to wipe their own backsides properly and have now had that entire state shut down for quarantine. Now, we usually call them Mexicans because they're south of the border. I think I should stop there because I'm going to start calling Mexicans filthy cunts in a sec.
Can we not get Dodd completely demonetized? I mean, we're kind of doing this without his permission.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yes, that is correct, Dodd. We stole your fucking channel for this.
Yeah.
And there's a fucking bicycler fucking in front of me. Sorry, I'm driving. But she was right in front of me going slow as shit.
Yeah, well, yeah, we you should be a little bit concerned about that. After all, we know what the Mexicans did to Top Gear. Okay.
Fuck off.
It is best known for stinging hairs that cover the whole plant and deliver a potent neurotoxin when touched. And it's not just when you touch it. See, what actually happens is that these little tiny hairs are strong enough, they actually dig into the pores of your skin. And that's where they sit and irritate. And if you try and scratch it out, all you'll do is you'll just get rid of the exposed part, and there's still a little stem left actually inside your skin pore. And you can't get it out. You either got to suck it up, leave it in there, grow it out, like let it just grow out normally, or chop your arm off or suicide. They're your three options. That's mainly how it does it irritate you. There are even reports, one you yourself covered in a previous video, of people even committing suicide after touching the plant. The pain has been likened to that of being burnt with hot acid and electrocuted at the same time. Yeah, that's about accurate. However, the fruit the plant produces is edible to humans, and if the stinging hairs that cover it are removed. Now, I probably have eaten it. I just don't know. The gympie tree grows as a single-stemmed plant, reaching 1 to 3 meters or 3 to 10 feet in height. It has large heart-shaped leaves, about 12 to 22 centimeters or 5 to 9 inches long, and 11 to 18 centimeter or 4 to 7 inch wide. Finely toothed-edged leaves. The hair-like stingers on the plant. What you need to be watchful of, as even through clothing, face masks, and even welder's gloves, you can still be stung by the plant. Yes, that is correct. Yes, you can still be stung by the plant by numerous different things. Even military gear doesn't stop you from getting affected by this. What is worse is the symptoms from just one encounter with these plants. Here's the symptoms. Yeah, sorry. It's getting a little late in the night for me, boys and girls. Oh, Friday, bum stink, Nancy's beauty sleep. Okay, watery eyes and a runny nose to start off, but the sting from the plant can require hospitalisation with the symptoms aside from the extreme pain and intense itching and huge hives. You can, yeah, you can even be allergic to the plant and go into anaphylactic shock from it. Yeah, go into anaphylactic shock from just about anything. Turns out most things are poisonous to humans. And it turns out more than a few people are allergic to the plant, and the plant has been uh, suspected to have been used in biological warfare due to the intensity of its neurotoxins, but no documented like that. Last little bit, I'd hazard to guess, actually probably didn't actually happen for the simple reason that the way the toxin works is not sort of, it doesn't lend itself to a weapon pretty much. You literally have to rub yourself up against this stuff. But anyway, yeah, it's okay. So a few stories. There has been one where the horses rubbed up against it, and the bloke who owned the horses reported that it went crazy and ran itself off a cliff. That has happened. Then there's another instance that during World War II, there was an American, I think he was a Marine, was based in Queensland, and was caught short out in the bush at one point there, and didn't have his groovy issue ration toilet paper or anything like that. And oh, this tree's got a big broad leaf. I'll use that. And for I think about the next 2 weeks, he was screaming for people to kill him. That'd have to be bloody horrifying. That you're stuck in something where the only thing that you can do by sheer virtue of voluntary reaction is to constantly scream. Right, yeah. Do we still have you here, Miss Murder? I guess not. Well, we are at the end of the list, anyways, and that's pretty much you pretty much got the gist of the Gimpy tree. That's it's not a pleasant thing, and yeah, don't go anywhere near it. It does look a lot like the picture in there, in any case. So, in fact, Miss Murder does seem to have some transmission issues at the moment, and as we are at the end of this, I'll just address the chat real quick. Say hello to Oz. Thanks for joining us, Phil. Same thing with Jensen. Many Ray of Hope, thank you for joining us. And same thing with MC. And I think we shall call it here for this one. Anyway, boys and girls.
Boobies.